Fun fact, growing up, because I'm named after my granddad, my mum always did call me James Robbins Jr., but I have a middle name that he didn't have, so it's all a lie.
There we go, we can cut that. That's the first thing to cut. I'm just going to read out a list of names. Johnny Depp, Olivia Colman, Judi Dench, Penelope Cruz, Derek Jacobi, and Willem Dafoe. And now, they're all going to have the honour of us speaking about them. Welcome to the Three Takes of Stupidity, the final part of our Murder Mystery Trilogy. This week, it's one from the Leonardo da Vinci of crime fiction, Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. I'm joined by Chandler Monk.
Hello.
James Robbins IV.
Hiya.
And I'm James Robbins, alias Alex Clinton.
True.
Choo choo, motherfuckers, it's Agatha Christie time.
It's been a while since we last recorded, actually, so we might actually have a few things to talk about. So, boys, have you been watching anything new? Or is Chandler going to mention Slow Horses for the third week in a row?
I'm not going to mention Slow Horses for the third week in a row, actually.
This would have been so good for you to have watched Sopranos and me to have watched Slow Horses.
I've not watched anything new. I've not been that well this week. So when I've come home after work, I've done what I normally do. And then when I'm not well, I watch something over and over again that I've seen before. So I started rewatching Doctor Who from the beginning. Well, from the 2005 beginning.
Oh, nice.
And it's so good. I love it so much. I just finished watching Father's Day,
What's that?
The Empty Child, which is the very famous Are You My Mummy episode, and the Doctor Dances, which is that two-parter, the Are You My Mummy two-parter, and it's so good.
You've just reminded me I haven't locked my door.
Are you my mummy?
I hate that.
You completely brushed over my fatherless joke I made there, but, you know.
Yeah, I did.
There's nothing funny about Doctor Who.
I actually watched the episode on Saturday. I haven't watched it in years, and I love Ncuti Gatwa, but I did find the episode fell a bit flat. I don't know if it was the editing or the delivery, just everything felt a little, off.
I completely disagree with you. I thought that episode was actually one of the best of Ncuti's era, of the Art Russell T Davies 2 era. I think it was really, really clever. I think the ending was a bit anticlimactic. However, the episode on a whole, I thought was very good. It felt more like an original RTD episode.
I thought it was fun. I just thought there was something off with the delivery and editing. Everything felt just slightly not snappy enough.
There were a few weird CGI shots that did put me off. However, as a
I didn't
whole,
mind
it was
those
a very good
so
episode.
much because I think you always take that Doctor Who is ultimately a terrestrial television show. I know it's partly owned by Disney now.
Distributed.
Yeah, and it has had an influx of money from them, but no, it was just things weren't hitting for me, even though I thought it was a really fun episode. But I haven't watched it in many years, to be fair. But I did always love it when I was growing up. Alex, what have you been watching?
I rewatched Saving Private Ryan, and
So, Alex.
That is very Alex.
it was just in keeping with my theme, I had to watch something war-based. And there's a scene in it where I hate people in war films. I really hate them. Especially when they just put soldiers' lives at risk. There's this guy, they're in a nice, safe house.
So you hate war?
Yeah, admittedly it's a war zone, but they're in a nice, safe house. Admittedly, half of the house is missing due to a bomb. That would have been quite terrifying. But he's desperate to hand his daughter to a soldier, and all I'm thinking is, why would you hand your child? Why would you let your child go from the safe place to the not safe place with the man? And then they give the daughter to the man, and the man gets shot, and I'm like, that is the dad's fault. That is all the dad's fault. And then the daughter runs back up into the partially demolished home, and her dad's like, I'm so sorry I let you go with that man. Turns out giving you to the soldier was not the best idea, and he's now dead, and you're back here crying. Nothing was resolved, but I really enjoyed the film. Actually, I haven't finished it.
I've only ever seen Saving Private Ryan once. However, I remember really enjoying it. And also, little fun fact about Saving Private Ryan and Call of Duty, if you guys didn't know this.
I think I know this, actually.
But you know the bit where Tom Hanks is about to die and he's on the floor just trying to shoot I think a plane with his pistol or something. That inspired the Call of Duty makers to do like the last stand thing that you could have as like a power up on the game.
I'm pretty sure in one of them, maybe COD 4, you can or COD World at War. I'm pretty sure you can find a Private Ryan as well.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Also, another little thing about Saving Private Ryan, it's also a thing of Hollywood loves to save Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Because Private Ryan is played by Matt Damon, and when you like think of
can you say his name properly?
No.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. No, it's because like in other films, like The Martian, like he's stuck on another world. He's stuck on Mars, and everyone at Hollywood has to go and save Matt Damon. But then also in Interstellar, they all go and save Matt Damon. Hollywood loves saving Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
I think you've just defined our next trilogy, Saving Matt Damon trilogy.
What, Saving Private Ryan, The Martian, and Interstellar. I'm not going to lie, I would happily rewatch all 3 of those films.
Yeah, that's good options.
I haven't seen The Martian or Interstellar.
What?
Is Interstellar the one where Matthew McConaughey is banging on the door going, now?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
It's not a door.
That's the ending of the film. Alex.
I loved Interstellar. Speaking of space stuff and wars, I actually recommended, as I said in the WhatsApp group, and I will talk about it, a new anime to the boys, because it's really good. It feels like a 2000 space epic. Like the score of it's really cool. It's not got an opening of a Japanese pop track. It's got like a movie score, and it's like humanity is going to the moon to colonize, basically. But the whole show it's an allegory on modern war, essentially. The West destabilizing a country, and then they're being terrorists, and then you got to beat the terrorists. But actually, the whole people on the moon have been subjugated, and basically they're the ones that are not the terrorists. Probably the Earth is the terrorist in this film, in this show. But it's really cool. It's animated by the same guys as Attack on Titan, so it looks fantastic. It feels very 2000s anime and 2000s space epic. And also, what I love is the characters are actually adults. They're not like anime adults where they're 17. They are 20-year-olds. Yeah, it's commenting on AI in it. It's commenting on modern warfare. Yeah, really, really cool. Really good. I'd love it if you boys watch like the first 4 episodes, because it's really good. But I doubt that will happen. But to you at home, maybe you will watch Moonrise.
That sounds really good. Where can we watch it, James?
Netflix.
Excellent.
Moving on.
No, I wanted to give his. He was very passionate about it. I wanted to explain where people could watch it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
We got that. Now let's move on.
It's good fun. Kind of brutal as well.
Okay, right. We've heard about it now. Shut the fuck up. It's housekeeping time.
Well, I like how you said that. Sultry.
This week.
Don't get on with it.
This week, we're doing Murder on the Orient Express, which is also known as Stabby on a Train. Hercule Poirot is a detective on the Orient Express. That's quite apt for this one. When someone is murdered and he is conveniently about to solve it. That is the premise of this film. Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot will solve a murder on the Orient Express. I wonder how long it took her to think of that title. Just slating a dead woman. IMDb gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 60 on the tomato meter, a 54 on the popcorn meter. And The Guardian's Peter Bradshaw gave it 2 out of 5 stars to appease anyone else that doesn't enjoy Rotten Tomatoes. Did everyone enjoy it?
I think those scores are about right. Maybe a bit too favourable.
It was fine.
Did I say 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 5?
2 out of 5.
Yeah, I think 2 out of 5 is a little low.
I don't know. I think it's about right.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think 6.5 and 50-60% is about fair.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that bad. I didn't not enjoy it. I enjoyed it. But I think the main problem is, and I think you guys might agree, pardon me, my partner was saying the same thing, it's no David Suchet.
Did you just butcher his name?
It's no BBC Poirot.
Oh, right.
It's no BBC Poirot. You go on that one, you see the little Google thing that's probably also bollocks. 93% of people like that show. Too right they fucking did. And only 50% of people like this film. Too right they fucking did. David Suchet. I mean, Kenneth Branagh. I think Kenneth Branagh did very well, but he's no David Suchet.
I don't know.
I'm sure we'll get into it later, but I was very mixed on Kenneth Branagh. I thought maybe it's because when I was watching it and the mind frame I was in of a bank holiday Monday, I thought this is the perfect movie for like 3 o'clock on a bank holiday Monday. You could just put it on. You don't even have to watch it really. It'll just go into your brain.
You're right. I was not paying complete attention the entire time. I felt like I could dip out and in and not miss much.
Well, that's good that we're about to do an hour-long podcast on it. Jesus Christ, boys. Good research.
I wouldn't have gone
that far. Good research, boys.
I wouldn't have gone that far. No, don't drag me down with James.
I think the one thing this film really suffers with, and it sort of means that you can dip in and out, as you said, and it doesn't really matter, is the fact that everyone sort of knows the story already.
I didn't, but fair.
Like, the story is so well known, and like the ending is so well known that it's become a cliche at this point that even if you don't know it, you sort of know what's coming. Do you know what I mean?
But James, you did expect there to be a murder on the Orient Express, didn't you? You were like, they're all getting on this train. It's called the Orient Express.
Yes, I did expect there to be a murder. There will be a murder on the Orient Express. And they will detective it.
And the other thing I think the film suffers with is that it takes fucking 50 minutes to even get to the murder on the Orient Express. The other two murder mystery films we did, the fucking murder that they're trying to solve happens in the first fucking 7 minutes.
It does take a while to get to the murder, but once we're in the murder, this is where we lose. Well, we don't really lose him. He pops up occasionally here and there. We lose Johnny Depp's character, John Cassetti, alias Edward Ratchet, who is murdered on the Orient Express. Dum dum dum.
Roll credits.
He's found in his room after not answering, and no one should be able to get into his room after being brutally stabbed messily. Poirot, we learned about him early on, is he's all about the detail, and he solved a ruby thief or something with by a crack in the wall. And this whole film he's trying to find the crack in the wall, and he says, he's been stabbed messily. Can't tell if they're right-handed, left-handed. There's a load of evidence, but only one piece of it looks genuine, which was a bit of a burnt note. And literally the day before, he had a conversation with Edward Ratchet, Cassetti, who he wanted to ask Poirot for protection, but Poirot was like, I can tell you're a criminal. I know you've got a gun. You sell fake art. I'm not going to do that for you. And then, quickly found dead.
And then obviously he's on this train, and we have the list of suspects who, as Alex referred to at the start, like, this is a ridiculously stacked cast. Like, there are names that Alex didn't even mention.
It's mental.
No.
Like, Judi Dench, she didn't mention. Daisy Ridley, Leslie Odom Jr.
No, I mentioned the Dench.
Okay, fair enough. Leslie Odom Jr., who obviously, Alex, is your favourite actor because he's Burr in Hamilton.
Yeah, yes.
Josh Gad, Michelle Pfeiffer as well.
Kenneth Branagh, I also didn't mention.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh, who also directed the film you didn't mention.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous cast. Let's sort of dive into why he was murdered, because we found out why he was murdered and why he was using an alias way before we got any of the motives. You're right, Chandler, the murder takes 50 minutes. It also takes about an hour and a half to get the motives, which really irritated me. Compared to the last two films we watched where it gave us the motives and we're there racking our brain trying to work out who it was, which I think was really nice. It takes you along for the ride with it. Whereas this one, I felt like I was in the dark. And that's probably why I dropped in and out. But yeah, we did learn that he basically murdered a little girl.
But can I just say that maybe that's to do with it being an adaptation from a novel from the 1930s, whereas the previous two films that we've done are obviously modern creations. Whereas when you're doing a novel, you don't immediately want to go, A killed B because B loved C. And then you're just going to sit with that now.
Well, it's not about finding out who killed them, but it's about finding out why. Because we're meant to believe that it could be anyone. So we need to know motives from each person to make it believable. And I feel like by trying to subvert that, it didn't quite work on screen. It might work in the book. I don't know.
I feel like James is right, because I felt going through the movie like nothing. everything is told to you. Nothing is really shown to you, perhaps. Like in the other two films, like in this film, everything felt like it just popped out of thin air. Like even when Poirot goes, "Oh, I know who he is now. He's Cassetti. His actual name is this. Blah 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 blah. Because of X, Y, Z." And you're like, what? Like you haven't shown me your thought process here, like or like how he's come to this. And then when I think I don't want to get to it now because we're still really early on in the pod, but the final scene of when he's actually like explaining everything's just like,
mate.
Everything he's just like, he's this person and she's this person. You're like, what the fuck? That's come from absolutely nowhere.
Again, that might be Agatha Christie is the greatest crime novelist ever.
Yeah.
People would argue. She cannot have achieved that by people going, what the fuck? You can't just make up that he just knew it.
Yeah.
So it's a really bad adaptation.
I feel, I've not read the book, but I imagine the book gives you more of this. And for the film, I think the reason why the film doesn't hit maybe as hard as it should or as well as the book has over the years is because it spends the first 50 minutes just getting you on the fucking train. You can do away with a lot of that. You can just basically put him in front of Bok, explain his mate, and then you're on the train within 20 minutes.
I thought there was so much of like useless metaphors flying around as well that really meant absolutely nothing to me. I think Daisy Ridley, it did actually mean something a bit later on, but Daisy Ridley's character, Miss Mary Debenham, said like, I start with the geography, and I'm like, I don't really know what you mean. You're a baroness for someone who's just come from Baghdad, but otherwise I don't know what you're talking about. And I feel like Poirot used a load of like random metaphors as well, where I'm like, that just was empty to me. And maybe I'm not reading into it enough, but my partner pointed out that it's very like old book and old story kind of writing. But even still, it just kind of irritated me. We learn that Johnny Depp's character, Edward Ratchet Cassetti, he murdered a young girl who was basically her dad, John Armstrong, and the mum.
They all ended up dying.
It's really sad. So the mum was pregnant and she passed away through the stress. And then John Armstrong ended up unaliving himself over the case. And at the same time...
Very quickly, I love how James is using the phrase unalived himself for purely social media algorithms.
Absolutely. And Josh Gad, his character McQueen, was Johnny Depp's Edward Ratchet's secretary. He was stealing money from him. John Armstrong's... his dad was the lawyer on the case, and then someone else died as well. And it's all very sad. But it takes an hour and a half to then basically find out that all these characters had some relation to the Armstrong family in some way. So,
but it's weird. It's weird because I think, like we say, this Armstrong case, right?
Yeah.
It's really weird but I can't remember. Is he asked to go back to London to get on the Orient Express because of the Armstrong case or because of another case? Either of you remember?
No, I think he's going because of another case.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because that leads me on. Because like, if like he was being asked to go back to London or somewhere else because of the Armstrong case, it would have made a hell of a lot more sense. Because at least you could have introduced the Armstrong case before he goes on the train. So then when he goes, oh, this is all connected, it seems a bit more coherent. Whether it's like, he's Cassetti, I know exactly what the case they're all on about now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. He is returning to London because I think he had does he not have a route on a ship, and the ship has issues, and he's like, I have to get back, I've got appointments. It's all coincidence. He's going to have a nice he saw the 3-day holiday on the train going through Europe. I don't actually know where the Orient Express goes.
By Turin, it went through Paris, Brussels, with up to and basically everywhere.
It goes to like Yugoslavia.
Yeah. Goes through, I think they said it goes through Zagreb as well.
Yeah.
Everywhere but not Asia, apparently.
No, I think the Orient Express is actually from Istanbul to Paris. Or to Calais, I guess, in this sense. Yeah. Because you're going to the Orient, I guess.
He murdered Daisy, this kid. And then we slowly find out the rest of our cast of characters, that stack cast, all had links to the Armstrong family. and this kid. Do you guys remember everyone's relation to them thereabouts?
I'll be honest, I got lost quite quickly on this one.
I think if I remember it, so Penelope Cruz's character, Pilar, I'm only reading the characters' names and who played them. I'm not reading reasons, but let's see if how well I do.
Pilar Estravados.
Yeah, she was the baby's nurse.
Yeah, babysitter nurse. Yeah,
babysitter nurse. Willem Dafoe's Gerhard Hardman.
Yeah,
was the lover of the woman who got found guilty of the murder.
Wrongly guilty.
Yeah.
And he's like he was pretending to be a German professor, but he was actually a former police, now Pinkerton detective, who was actually going to be protecting Ratchet, but then obviously wasn't protecting Ratchet.
Judi Dench's Princess Dragomirov, if I've pronounced that correctly.
Dragomirov.
She was the godmother of her, and Daisy Ridley, Mary Debenham, was a former governess, tutor, whatever.
To the sister, the mum, Daisy's sister. She had something to do with her as well. She was like a baroness for Countess Andreni, who was Helena Andreni. And then her partner as well, which was Sergei Pulunin, Count Andreni. He was just with her.
Yeah.
Basically.
Dr. Arbuthnot, Leslie Odom Jr.'s character, he was John Armstrong's John Armstrong was his colonel in the war.
And then he helped him become a doctor and go to University of Sussex, I think, where they only took one person of colour to be at that time, because they talk about race and colour a lot in this film, and how basically Poirot takes the case through being guilted into it when they say that the only people that are going to be arrested for this and possibly executed are anyone that isn't white.
Yeah.
If he doesn't solve it.
They do iron over a lot of Agatha Christie. If you were to read her original versions now, would be quite a tough read, I'd imagine, because of the language used. But they iron over it quite well in this film.
And then the other one, Marquez, was Josh Armstrong's driver. Josh Gad, as you said, his dad was the lawyer who was forced to try and pin the crime on someone. Olivia Colman's Hildegard Schmidt, who I think is one of the most egregious cases of underusing an astonishing actress in the world of cinema that I've ever fucking seen is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I genuinely think
good.
Olivia Colman has 5 lines of dialogue in this entire film.
She does, but those 5 lines of dialogue are delicious. You could eat them all up.
Fucking Olivia Colman, the woman who can literally do anything. She is given absolutely nothing to do in this film. It is so bad. Shame on Kenneth Branagh, and shame on Michael Green, who wrote this screenplay.
Some would argue that a true actor is always reacting.
Shut the fuck up, Alex. Michael Green, who also wrote the script for Logan, Oscar-nominated script of Logan, wrote this, and also only gave 5 lines of dialogue to Olivia Colman. Shame on them. She was the Armstrong family cook. Derek Jacobi, I actually can't remember. I think that's the only one I can't remember off the top of my head.
He was in the war with, I think,
John
Armstrong. I believe. And there's another actor who was in this stat cast that was a subtle one. We get all of the cast watching a home movie of the Armstrongs, and the dad is Jamie Tart.
Jamie Tart. I was going to fucking mention that. Yeah,
Jamie Tart.
Ted Lasso.
Jamie Tart. Yeah, Phil Dunster. Phil Dunster from
Ted Lasso.
What's it called? Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Jamie Tart. Jamie Tart. That's going on socials.
Season 4 coming soon. Actually, they're filming it in Richmond now.
Are they?
Yeah, it's going to focus on the women's team.
So woke.
Football is life until we don't get paid for it.
and then finally, Michelle Pfeiffer, who is revealed right at the end for some reason to be the grandmother of Daisy, the woman. But yeah, the grandmother.
Oh, was it? So I did not.
Oh, I can tell.
Attention to that.
I can tell James fucking tuned in and out of the film. Then that's right at the end of the film.
I saw what she did, and I was like, oh, she knew her as well. I did check out.
She knew her as well.
But here's the thing, right? You're so right there, because also the train conductor is said to be the brother of the woman who was falsely accused as well. I can't remember his name or who he's played by.
Yeah.
But it's just explained so quickly in few lines of dialogue. Like, there's no setup for it at all. It's so, I don't want to say lazy, because do you know what? This film actually makes me want to go read the book. And I'm not much of a reader, which I should be, but I only read when I go away on holiday. I like sitting by a pool on a cruise ship with a book and a cocktail. But that's me. Anyway, so I and this is supposed to be, as Alex said, she's one of the best. She is probably the best crime novelist ever. And I really hope the book isn't like this, like where it's just explained right at the end with one lines. But as Alex says, like the book did come out 70 years ago. And I think, as I said before, is it because everyone knows the story that it's sort of cliche by now? Or is it that this film just does not do the original book justice?
I think it's the latter. I didn't enjoy Kenneth Branagh's portrayal of Poirot. As you say, I'm always thinking of BBC Poirot. And I immediately was taken out of the film at the start when I saw the size of his massive mustache.
I love the mustache.
There's absolutely no need for that.
A double stash.
There are a really good few sight gags with the mustache, though. There is one near the beginning of the film where he's woken up on the train and he brings down his book and he's got the little like mustache
mask. Is it a shaper or something?
I have no idea. But it goes all the way around his mouth. I want to say mustache hammock.
It looked very
It goes all the way around his ears. I was like, that's a very funny sight gag. Fair play.
It looked really bondage. So yeah, basically all the characters in this have the same motive, which we find out very late. And the only couple of interviews with characters you really get, and with the other films, there were points in it where I go, oh, it could be them, and I'm analysing everything. I couldn't really analyse anything in this. They thought it was McQueen at one point because he got caught burning Ratchet's books because he was stealing money from him, and obviously that is a motive, and he is chased by Poirot down. Basically, the train has stopped because of an avalanche. It's been minorly derailed, let's say, just a bit off the track. And
a light derailing.
Yeah, and it chases him down some bridge scaffolding for the tracks are on. There's an interview with Gerhard Hardman, Willem Dafoe, and eventually Poirot just knows that because he pronounced Turin and not Turin, that he was lying about where he's from and that he's actually someone else. And Michelle Pfeiffer's character gets stabbed at some point, so you don't really believe it's her. You're led to believe it's not her because she's been attacked but not murdered. There's very minimal points in the film where I believe it's anyone. Yet right at the start, there's a conversation between Daisy Ridley's character and Leslie Odom's character who are dating, that they, once this is over, we can all live our lives happily. So that's right at the start. Then you get a couple of the characters in the middle where you're like, yeah, I guess it could be them, but I never believed it was anyone.
I was guessing, but I wasn't invested. So in the other two films, I was invested in finding the killer. I was with the detective. I was like, we got to find this guy. He's going to kill again. Yeah. Whereas in this one, I was like, just because it could be anyone, you haven't really gave me anything to go. The only thing I can go off is I am effectively, what's his name? Buck?
Book.
Tom Bateman's character.
Yeah.
I'm effectively Poirot's friend, just standing there going, oh, how did you know that? And he's like, I just know. And you're like, oh, okay.
He's the audience surrogate. He is absolutely the audience surrogate. Also, he's a sleazeball who he's probably at the start of the film when you see him, he's like, this is my friend. And Poirot's like, a prostitute. And he's like, well, yes, I am a terrible person. And he's like, yes, you are. That was quite fun.
I'll be honest, he's my favourite character in all of it.
Yeah.
Genuinely, he's the most fun in the film. He's the one I actually want to watch more than anyone else in the film. And he's probably the least known actor out of all of them.
He's very charismatic, isn't he, as well, through the entire thing and doing the right things. And he is the manager of the train and he is doing it very well. There was one nice shot of when they found the body, and one nice camera shot, I thought, in the film, where it's bird's eye view in the train.
Yeah,
and you can't see their faces.
Yes.
And they're discussing it and it felt really secretive. That made me, that was after I say early on, hour in. that made me feel like, oh, mystery, really good. And then it was just a bit flat.
So talking of book being the audience surrogate, right? I compare in this while I was watching this, and every so often, as we said, like Poirot would just say things like, "Oh, because of this, blah 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 blah," right? I very much felt that this was akin to like they were trying to show Poirot as a bit of a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I mean that's detective. It's of course that's what's always going to happen.
But I feel like. Did you guys ever watch the Sherlock TV show with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman?
I didn't know.
So, like, I feel like in that show, like, obviously the detective's the genius and Sherlock Holmes is Sherlock Holmes. But I think in that film, in that visual representation of the book, it showed how Sherlock comes to those conclusions before it's said out loud. And I feel like that's what this film was missing. It's not showing how Poirot is coming to find these things out so easily before it's just said out loud in exposition.
Well, when they do it, I found it was really outlandish. Like the pronunciation of Turin, I'm like, oh, I picked up on that, cool, but like, give me a bit more. Give me a bit more sleuthing.
There's also not a moment where like he has like a raised eyebrow and just sort of looks at him and goes, he's just I noticed you said Turin wrong. You're American then. And he's like, all right, yeah, fine, I am. I thought the reveal of that moment was pretty good, but yeah, there's no build up. You're just straight in there.
The funny thing is, as I said, I've not read Murder Mystery Express, but I've read quite a bit of like the original Sherlock stories, and I think in them, it is explained to the reader how it's coming about before it's like said amongst the characters, and like John Watson saying it in the books. And that's why I have hope for when I eventually go back and read Murder on the Orient Express, that it is better than the film. I genuinely don't think this film does the original book justice, even though I've not read it.
No, I agree with you with the Sherlock Holmes thing. Like, I've not read Sherlock Holmes, but I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, which is kind of reading. But you do get, like, I think the most recent one I'd listened to was something about a speckled band. But there's a lot of, I got there because this is happening. And Watson you are very much Watson. You're like, I don't understand what's going on. And then he'll be like, you see that right there? That's how I know. And Watson will be like, oh yeah, okay. There isn't much of that because Buck is just always lost. He's always like 4 steps behind Poirot.
And that's why I was akinning it, because Buck is basically the Watson in the way this film is presented to us.
And I think just looking back to our film last week, Knives Out, where we're following Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc, we're clearly investigating along with Benoit Blanc in that film, and he's getting stuff wrong, and he's trying to work it out, and we're seeing the struggle with working it out. And then I think that only helps lead to a better feeling conclusion. Whereas in this movie, you've got Poirot's being praised for being famous. He's being told he's the greatest detective ever. He doesn't really get much wrong. Like, he kind of notices everything. There's only one scene where I'm assuming his partner or someone he loved at past has a picture of Catherine, who he kind of talks to. He said, I can't work it out. No one here is a killer. And that's about it. We've never seen him fail. We've never seen him get a new piece of evidence. It's just not done as well as the previous films we've done.
There's a beautiful moment where Poirot says, I am the greatest detective in the world. Because we haven't because we haven't read the books, I don't know that Poirot is that guy. Like you say, you see in Knives Out, you see the detective get it wrong. Is Poirot in the books just, what's the word I'm looking for? In
getting it right all the time?
Yeah, is he all-knowing? Is he like, that was correct, I knew that?
Because
is there boring. A moment where he goes, but even when he gets things wrong, they're still like, oh, no, I see you're working out. She's obviously the German maid and has done this. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got that right. Again.
I think you're right. I think, that I was going to say the same line, because I think I genuinely wrote down that that's fucking ridiculous that anyone would say it. Because, as I said, like, going back to like Sherlock on TV or Sherlock in the films, like it's shown to you that he gets things wrong. Like, he's along the right path, but comes at the wrong conclusion and goes, and it makes for a more compelling story to know that your protagonist isn't all-knowing and all-powerful.
There's a couple of scenes where he says that there was a scene where they're playing me because they placed a red kimono in his suitcase and they hid a conductor's jacket in someone else's cabin and the button was missing and they were trying to find that one because it said someone small with a high-pitched voice. It was a small brown man with a high-pitched voice was seen, supposedly, there. And he does go, they're playing me, but I never felt that they were. I didn't really understand where the red kimono came from. I know he found a few clues in the room, but he had previously told us that they were placed. They were like fake clues. I just found myself a bit lost. And once I was lost, that's why I was like a little bit in and out, if I'm honest. I wasn't in and out. I wasn't the other way around. I was a bit lost. So I was like, that took me out. I wasn't just out in the start. Because I differing to Alex, I quite liked Kenneth Branagh's portrayal. Yeah, he's no BBC Poirot, but I liked his portrayal still. And it might be mustache envy.
There were certain things that he would say in the accent. I was like, oh, you've tried to over-accentuate yourself there and you've taken me out of the story. There's a reason Agatha Christie is one of the best crime writers ever. It's because of her twists. This one, I didn't know anything about the Murder on the Orient Express. This one seemed a little... Again, because we're so far in the future, we have been spoiled by other people ripping her off, that when I saw this, I was like, that's a little bit lazy. Had I read the novel in 1935, I would have been like, oh my God, it's all of them. But
twist, it was all of them.
So that's the thing, as I've said, I think a couple times already, it's like, I'm not sure if my enjoyment of this film is hampered by the fact that this has been done so many times in the past before, and that even when this is the second time I've watched this film. I watched the film first when it came out, not really ever knowing that it was all of them was from the Murder on the Orient Express, but also knowing that it's from the Murder just by cultural osmosis or something. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if this is hampered by the fact of we're 70 years in the future from Agatha Christie. This isn't
90.
90 years into the future. Fuck, we're old. 90 years into the future from Agatha Christie, that it's been done so many times before, it doesn't need to be redone again.
Well, but my problem wasn't necessarily what the twist was. I didn't necessarily expect it, and I do think that the twist could have been good. I think it's, and then finding out why, obviously we've talked about all of the characters' motives having some relation to the Armstrong family and being devastated by the death of the family, and that Edward Ratchett did it, John Cassetti, but the journey wasn't there. I need the journey for the twist to be worthwhile, and it just wasn't worthwhile at all. I was like, okay, because it felt unanswerable, and when it was unanswerable, I just didn't love the twist in the end, but it could have been good. It could have been good.
Branagh's delivery of that final twist where they're all sat at some like painting table.
Yeah, it's like the Last Supper.
Brief side note. What is everyone else on the train doing while all of this is going on?
They're waiting to go home.
They're the regular people who couldn't afford first class.
Yeah, this is the first class train. They're all fucking squashed insane. They're all squashed in coach going, I fucking hate this. I want to go home.
It's fucking cold. We're in the Alps. I don't like it.
Then you've got engineers being like, that's it done, you can get on your way. And he's like, no, I must speak to all of the people on the train. We will not move until I have spoken to them. And you're like, fuck's sake, you fucking let me go.
We've set up a dinner table for the Last Supper on the track, in the tunnel. The train can't go through there. You kill all my suspects. Plot twist, you kill all my murderers.
Right, the funny thing is, right, they could just see what was going on and just see Book, the manager of their train, just pointing a gun at all of them.
Yeah. And also Book took it. He just held the gun when he was telling all the workers that came to get the train back on the tracks and get rid of it. And he's just holding the gun by his side of like, what did they do?
But I like that he's holding the gun and he's just waving it around. Poirot's like, and then it could be you, madame. And he's like, oh, we're shooting this one. And he's like, but no, then it could be you, sir. And he's like, I'm going to pop a cap in this guy. He's about to die. And he's like, but maybe again, you, madame. You, madame. He's like, let's just kill this bitch.
Yeah. 1934 was a wild time.
He's just there behind them while Poirot's talking, right? And he's like, slow down, Poirot.
He's just going to start killing people to make it easier for himself.
It's like, fuck it.
The one thing, just going back on track now. Just go back on track now. The one thing I would say about this, the ending scene, the revelation scene that is in all murder mystery films, I do, as
you live and die by it.
As bad as the rest of the film is, I actually do think this scene is delivered very well. I agree. I do think, like, when it gets to Michelle Pfeiffer and he's like, you're the grandmother, it was your daughter, it was your granddaughter, blah, 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 and she's telling her story, I actually felt quite touched. I'll be honest, there was a slight tear brought to my eye when Michelle Pfeiffer was talking about it.
But I love how he's like, your actress such and such.
Yeah. But I was brought to a slight tear when she was talking about it.
Fucking tear.
I would say that whole scene is acted very fucking well. I will say that.
So the best part of that scene for me was Poirot has been characterized as very
letter of the law.
Letter of the law. He follows the rules. He can't deal when people. He's got a bit like OCD kind of displays of symptoms, like straight ties. Everything needs to be prim and proper. He likes what he likes. He won't deal with things he doesn't like. When he talks about food and when he's having a bit of Edward Ratchett's cake, and he's like, I don't like the pleasantries before someone asks me a business deal. You're obviously going to ask me for a business deal. And then at the end, he's so touched by the Armstrong murder, Daisy murder, and their deaths that he's like, there's no killer here, and it's all of you. And he doesn't want, and he thinks justice is. He's kind of taking justice into his own hands. He wants them all to be free of the pain now that the killer is dead. And he's gone back on who he is as a person and the rule and law he follows. So I thought that was quite nice. And then he's like, you can kind of kill me. He's like,
you have to kill me.
You have to kill me. And then Michelle Pfeiffer, she goes to shoot him, but then doesn't, and then goes to shoot herself, but the gun's got no ammo. I bet Poirot knew, because we're led to believe that he freaking knows everything in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. That statement of, I bet Poirot knew, sums up this film. I bet he knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not there's like, not you could rewatch it and go, you see that shuffling in his pocket there? That's him taking the guns out of the bullet. The guns out the bullet, the bullet out of the gun.
I think it's supposed to indicate that whoever picked up the gun and tried to shoot him would be the one he would like try and imprison for the murder. Like, who is
like that?
Who's actually a killer amongst them, and who's a killer, not the killer, essentially.
Yeah, fair. That makes sense. Because Michelle Pfeiffer's character Linda Arnold just say like, I planned it all, none of them.
Yeah,
like, just deal with me, sort of thing.
And then I think ultimately when Michelle Pfeiffer turns the gun on herself is the reason at the end, like 3 minutes later, he goes, I'm going to tell the police it was someone you'll never catch. He ran away from the train.
It was a hidden assassin. When the train stopped, he got away.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that rubbish. And they're all fine. There was a moment earlier on where some other characters tried to indict themselves with when he thought it was Mary, who, to be fair, I think had... I don't normally like Daisy Ridley as an actress. She's not my favourite. I think she's budget Keira Knightley, if I'm completely honest.
I'm not going to lie. I was going to completely disagree with everything you just said. However, until you said budget Keira Knightley, I do have to kind of agree.
Yeah.
She would have been terrible in Bend It Like Beckham, Daisy Ridley.
But I do think she was quite good. I do think she was good in this. I just didn't really like her in the Star Wars films, but those films weren't good. So that maybe it's not her fault. By the by, I think the one character we're led to believe it might really be was her and the Dr. Arbuthnot. And he's going to maybe arresting Daisy Ridley, and then Arbuthnot comes in and shoots Poirot in the arm and says, it's me. But later on, Poirot's like, no, you were in the army and you're not a killer. You couldn't kill me. You meant to shoot me in the arm. You were a sharpshooter. You were like the best sniper ever or something. So you did that on purpose.
The funny thing is about that is if he was in the army and a sharpshooter, he's a fucking killer. He's killed people.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's legal. Legal killing.
He had to.
You're just after a label. Oh yeah, that is totally brushed over that he just gets away with it. He just gets to shoot someone and just be like, "Oh, what am I like?"
I just think it's all brushed over a bit too much. I think James, I genuinely think you're wrong. I don't think you're led to believe that anyone has actually done it throughout the whole film.
Chandler, I didn't say led to believe. I said mostly maybe led to believe. I'm really sitting on a fence here. I mean, there's a line here, and I mean, if we're going to push people clear the end, she's a bit closer than the others, but it's a half step. It's a modern day offside in football.
Fair enough. That was a terrible analogy, but fair enough. I think that's the problem with the film. As I said, in the previous two films, at genuine points, you're like, oh, of course it's them. Like, of course it's them. And then you're like, but because you're brought on the journey so well in the other two films, it feels better when you're like, okay, it's them. Oh, wait, hang on. No, it's them. And you're like, you're questioning it at every point. Where at this point, you're like, it's just within like 2 lines, you're like, okay, it's him. And then 3 seconds later, you're like, well, it's not him. You're not led along the path for any decent amount of time to make it compelling.
Yeah. Whereas I felt in the other two films, there are decent spans of time where you're going, it's got to be you. It has to be you. I can't think of anyone else. And one final point before we head into takes. How annoying was the CGI of the train?
You're so right. You're so right. Every like wide shot, I was like, this is terrible CGI. Like fucking awful. It takes you right out of the film when you're like seeing these like lovely, amazing shots of like Istanbul or like the Alps or whatever. And you're like, oh my God, this is so shit CGI. Why couldn't you just send a decent camera or drone to these places and try and fake and like try and actually do it? It was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This film came out 2017. It's not this film came out in the 80s. Oh, it was so annoying.
The Polar Express had better train CGI.
God, but the characters creep me out in that film. I didn't find it that bad in this. I kind of just took it for what it was. I've seen worse. Do you mean the train? Do you mean the train specifically?
I mean everything from Istanbul to the Alps to the train.
So there was one moment in Istanbul where I liked Istanbul, but it was the large building. I think maybe probably the train station. I don't know. That large building was rubbish. The train, I realise now I didn't pay attention to the train.
The shot of the train leaving the station out into the world is one of the worst CGI shots ever fucking made. Like, genuinely so bad. I'm like, why? How has this been put to film? I put
it to you, the final shot of the film where he gets the letter where it's like, there's been a death on the Nile, which was so fucking on the nose. If you know, but the shot where the train is leaving him.
Oh yes, there is a sequel called Death on the Nile.
There's a shot where the train is leaving him, and there's points in it where you can sort of see, like, he's obviously been told to look up at the green screen.
Told?
And he's just looking
the director.
Like, aimlessly.
Told? It's him!
I know.
He's fucking telling himself in his fucking head! It's fucking awful!
The train will be there. But he just looks at nothing, and you can see he's looking at nothing. He's not in awe or anything, he's just staring.
It's so bad.
They couldn't have got a fucking train.
In a film of egregious plots, an egregious storyline, the CGI is still the worst.
I think we've given a good idea to our fans at home of what we maybe think of the film, and should we maybe cement those with our takes?
Let's spin the wheel, Alex.
Oh, it's came up with David.
Who?
Oh no, he's been fired. We're down to the 3 takes now, not the 5. James, it's James. I don't know why I'm looking there. I've just made up a fucking. You can't even fucking see what I'm looking at. I was acting for no one.
And you know what, Alex? That leads me into my take really, really well. This incredible cast, all of them were acting for no one. Because this film, honestly, I looked at that cast list, and then when everyone popped up, I was like, oh my God, that's Judi Dench. Oh my God, it's Daisy Ridley. Oh my God, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. Penelope Cruz is in this. Willem Dafoe. I love Willem Dafoe. You know what? No matter what he's in, his face just lends himself to creepy and excellent acting.
What a way to put it.
These actors were acting for nobody. They've made real poor work of utilising this cast. At the start of this podcast, I said that, the ratings are about right. Throughout the podcast, I convinced myself they're too high. It's not good. There's no. I'm not dragged along into the mystery of it. I'm just led to believe Poirot's incredible at everything in this depiction of him. Alex and Chandler have pointed out for multiple times, Agatha Christie is one of the best crime writers has ever been. And her work, my nan loves Agatha Christie. She loves it. She loved the BBC Poirot and her other stories.
Her stories?
Huh?
No, you made your nan sound so old. Her story? She loved her stories.
Oh, she loves Agatha Christie. She's watched all the TV adaptations on BBC or wherever. She's definitely not read any of the books. And my nan's also not born in 1937. This just doesn't do any of that justice. And it's such a shame that it was quite poor. I was not into the mystery at all. There's some nice shots. There's some nice direction. Yeah, CGI not great. I really love when they find out the after the murder, the shot of Book and Poirot from a bird's eye view. It's really mysterious, and you can't really read their faces, and it's meant to be secretive. They're discussing it away from the rest of the cast. But yeah, given the two films we've watched up to this, a really disappointing end to the trilogy, if I'm honest. Really dull, and by the end of it, I was falling asleep. I wanted to fall asleep.
I would agree with most of what James says. I generally think there's only a couple of shots in this film and sequences in this film where I'm like, this is actually quite good cinema. And I think James is right. I think it's the bird's eye view that you get at certain points in the film where Poirot is moving around the train investigating. And I generally think those 4 or 5 minutes that you see those shots, those are the best of the film. Overall, you're completely correct, James. Even though I've not read Murder Express or much of Agatha Christie, I've read some. This film does not live up to the quality of Agatha Christie or the legacy of what Agatha Christie has done to crime, to writing in general, to everything. I think it's because I think looking on this film 90 years later, I think because it's done so much, it's become a cliche that they all did it sort of thing. I think that doesn't help us watching it 90 years later. I also don't think that in a film where you spend the first 40 minutes not even on the train, not even on the murder, so you only have an hour for the murder and the investigation and finding out all the motives, it doesn't lend it to that, whereas in a book it probably does, because obviously you have to spend the time with the characters, the setting and everything else. I think if this film was either a little bit longer or cut into 2 movies, or you somehow retool the first 40 minutes where it's only 20 minutes, or the first 40 minutes is about the Armstrong case, so it doesn't feel so out of nowhere where he just brings it up when he's on the train. I feel this film could have been done maybe that. If you'd done those things, this film would have come across a little bit better. But overall, don't watch this film. It's not good. As I said at the start, the ratings are actually pretty overrating it, which is fucking saying something. I think it's a complete misuse of an absolutely stacked cast. Olivia Colman is the personification of that. The incredible actress is given 5 things to do in an hour and 50 minutes. So yeah, I think I've pretty much slated this film. I think this is the film where I've actually watched it and come out the angriest, because all the other films, minus Digimon actually, all the others, I'm like,
wasn't a film.
3 great episodes of television.
So yeah, I think I just could not get on board on this film for an hour and 50 minutes. I actually despise Alex for making me rewatch it.
Whoa. Before I let Alex take it away with, I'm sure, a great take for his pick and his grovelling apology for making us watch it, I just wanted to check a couple reviews on the book as well as the film, and apparently it's quite a faithful adaptation. However, the book is really slow and has each chapter is a long interrogation with different characters, which clearly the film in 2 hours did not have. And if you were reading the book and pay attention to lots of the little details like the red kimono, it's like, yeah, you get quite rewarded for it, but it is extremely slow. And this is a faster paced version. But by the sounds of it, in my eyes, that has unfortunately made the twist and the investigation weaker. But apparently the book can be seen quite dull.
That's like saying I've built you a car, but I haven't put any wheels on it.
Yeah.
It hasn't got any doors, any wheels. It's just I've just built you a shell of a car.
I do agree with you, James. I agree with what you've just said, James. Alex, give us your take.
I'm excited.
I think all of the money from this film was definitely spent on the cast. I agree with you, Chandler, Olivia Colman. What a waste. I think that the story is definitely lacking, as James just said, from the original. That's pretty clear. The CGI just takes you out of the film at random moments. And as Chandler said, the Armstrong story, which is a key part of the case, is just thrown at you and you're expected to be in the middle of it with the rest of the cast, even though they've lived their whole lives through it. And it's just not a great portrayal. I don't think Kenneth Branagh's portrayal of Poirot is amazing either.
You were left wanting someone else that you're used to, weren't you?
I feel like Johnny Depp would have done a better job. I think they could have swapped characters. I think Kenneth Branagh was pretty good at playing slightly evil guys. I don't think he could pull off the Brooklyn accent, and that's the only reason they didn't do that. I think it's enjoyable as a Sunday afternoon, bank holiday, 3 p.m. movie, even though I think it's like is it like a 15 because of the stabby?
Because of the stabby.
Oh, that's a great scene that we didn't touch on. That when they actually show us the murder of everyone taking turns to stab him. Not gonna lie, that was crazy. That was a good scene. I was like, this is mental. All these people voyeuristically taking a turn to stab Johnny Depp.
We've just entered a part of James's mind.
The one thing about that scene, it felt a bit rushed because like every time they would stab, they would immediately run away. And you're like, oh my God, that's not how it would work. But anyway, speaking from experience, carry on, Alex.
That's not how it would. Well, I have group stabbed someone. I will finish in saying that I totally agree with Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian when he gave it 2 out of 5 stars.
Wow, brutalised this film.
I think this is the film we've all slated.
Good.
Before we leave this trilogy, what is everyone's ranking of the 3 Murder Mystery Trilogy?
Unless Alex tries to subvert expectation, like he always does, so I think maybe let's get him to go first. I feel like we might all finally have the same order, if I remember how we felt about the previous 2 films.
Are we going from first to third or third to first?
Third to first.
Third is, unfortunately, the absolute classic that is The Murder on the Orient Express.
2017.
Second is Clue. And on the top step, Knives Out.
So yeah, Chandler's shocked, so I would say the same. Murder on the Orient Express is third. It was clearly awful. Clue was second. Really fun. Not as good a murder mystery as Knives Out, which takes number 1. Knives Out is just... Alex's partner put it perfectly last week. It is almost the perfect murder mystery film you could possibly write. So yeah, Knives Out first, then Clue, then this. But Clue was great. Did like it. But this is like third, but actually it's like 185th.
So yeah, third is Murder on the Orient Express because it was fucking awful. Second for me is Knives Out, and first is Clue. I just think because it could be my nostalgia talking there again.
I think it's that.
Because Clue is just so ingrained in me as a great film. Yeah, go on.
I think if we watched Knives Out last, because of how you talked about it last week, I think your order would have been the same as mine and Alex's. And
maybe.
I think we've just watched this one and your nostalgia's there because look, we live and die by nostalgia. That all of us do it. I think that's affected you because you were. I might need to go re-listen to our Knives Out episode, but I'm pretty sure you said it was better than Clue in that record.
I don't know. I don't think I did. I don't think I'd ever blasphemize Clue.
No, but that's not a bad thing. Clue was fun. I really enjoyed Clue. Like, it was really good.
I can sort of agree with you there, James, but I just think Clue's amazing, and I love Tim Curry in it, and it will always be one of my favourite films.
Nothing is afoot anymore. All crimes have been solved forever and ever, locked away, gone, done. We have solved all of the crime. That is the end of the Murder Mystery Trilogy. Up next, it's something a bit special. Here's James Robbins to tell us more.
As we've alluded to in the past, we have some unreleased episodes. It had a really great title of Middle-Aged Bro Films, basically brotherhood movies. I'm going away for a few weeks. I'll try and keep you updated on our socials, but you will be listening to our bit ropey first records.
So if you do listen to those ones, please take it easy with us with possibly how bad the audio quality is before we worked out the
foibles.
Yeah, the audio quality is not great, but the subject matter is fantastic.
It really is. Wild Hogs is probably my favourite episode. Hot Tub Time Machine is also a good one. And I can't even remember the third one, so it's a surprise to me as well.
It was The Hangover.
The Hangover.
It's very good stuff. It's very good. The fact that you haven't heard it yet it's a shame for us, really.
Hot Tub Time Machine was borderline unlistenable quality-wise, so we'll see how Chandler fixes that. It's going to be a fun 3 weeks.
The funniest thing I remember is how long those records took.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Also, a couple of them we recorded together.
We recorded all of them in person.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, we recorded one of them in my living room on 3 makeshift desks we set up.
So please, if you prefer these episodes, please feel free to contact James Robbins. We'll post all of his social media.
Please don't. Right, can we get going? I've got flight to catch.
It's goodbye from James.
Goodbye. See you in 3 weeks.
It's goodbye from me. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Not from me?
Nope.
Au revoir.
Chandler's staying. No, do not accept that goodbye from Chandler. He's staying.
Don't forget to rate, review, and share the podcast. It really helps us grow. Follow us on all our socials, plus our individual Letterboxd accounts. The links can be found in the description at www.hopwithtwops.bio/3takes or search for 3 Takes of Stupidity on most platforms. Please send us your film and series suggestions on our Hop page or to 3takesofstupidity@gmail.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.